Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Running Through the Jungle NFL Pick'em Show. But guess what? We're not in a Pick'em Show no more right now. We are doing a championship weekend recap, and then we're going to do a little Super Bowl stuff, a little Super Bowl preview. I don't know what else we have in store. But Justin, happy Friday, brother. How you doing?
Man, what a week. It has been cold, wet, snowy, frigidly cold. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to say it one more time. It is bonkers cold. Okay, all week here in the Midwest, Northeast, that greater part of the country, we've been dealing with a lot of frigid temperatures. Right now, I believe it's the wind chill factor of -6 degrees outside, and it's going to continue to drop.
Bikini weather.
It is bad outside. Now, you got people that's probably like in northern Minnesota or Wisconsin that's saying like, man, y'all some punks, bro. We've been doing that's a normal winter for us. Like, well, we don't like it. Okay, this sucks. We hate this kind of cold weather. But outside of that, man, it's been fine. It's been a solid week nonetheless overall. We're finally here at the week where it's like the dead week where you got the Pro Bowl as your only real talking point of football this weekend.
Yeah.
Do you have any interest in watching the Pro Bowl, bro? Because I
don't watch I don't watch flag football anymore. You know, the last time I really remember the Pro Bowl was like when Atwater and Christian Okoye were in there. You know, they were actually going out there and hitting somebody and tattooing each other. Now this flag football stuff, man, that's for the week. I understand that. You know, the Pro Bowl is a fanfare pretty much. It's just a fanfare is what it is.
Yeah.
And for you fans going out there to go to Pro Bowl weekend, congratulations. You'll meet some great players, get some autographs, whatever, pictures. That's great. But other than that, I don't want to watch flag football.
I don't either. Last year, I paid attention to the Pro Bowl games because Joe Burrow was playing and Jamar Chase. And
right.
Look, this weekend, T. Higgins, our Bengal, he actually got nominated as second alternate replacement, so he'll be playing in the Pro Bowl. And as of this afternoon, Joe Flacco was nominated to the Pro Bowl and going to be replacing the AFC quarterback too. And that's his first one in 19 years playing in the league. That was surprising to me. I'm thinking, dude, you had to have played in the Pro Bowl at some point. No, he's been named to a couple of Pro Bowls, but he never played in them. So, he gets to be able to join the young guys, the young kids, and be the elder statesman to go and play in the Pro Bowl. So that'll be fun for him, I'm sure. But I'll tune in and watch just because we'll have some additional new Bengals to pay attention to. But overall, man, it definitely lost its luster over the years. Basically, I'll point it this way. Yeah, you mentioned flag football. Whatever, bro. That stinks. But ever since they sanctioned it out of Hawaii and put it into like Orlando, Florida and all that, that's when I thought that it lost its value. Because I really do believe that, you had some of the Pro Bowl games, but the game itself being in the Hawaii region, and I think players really wanted that experience with their families. It was like a vacation.
Right.
And it was still a part of the greater experience of playing good football. Even though there were some softened rules or whatnot, you still saw some real entertaining aspects of the game itself. But you're going to have this kind of thing going on about any kind of like all-star type of game for real. Nobody really cares about the performance of the actual game. They only pay attention to the fanfare and the activities that surrounds the game. The game is like you said, it's just nothing. Because at the end of the day, man, these guys got to take care of their bodies. They got to take care of themselves. They don't need to be risking their football careers over a Pro Bowl game. That means nothing. Sure, there's a bonus for if you win or lose, but at the end of the day, you're getting some bonus and incentives from your contract for even making it into the Pro Bowl, and you get a free trip on top of it. So, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, the Pro Bowl is it's just gotten soft. It's like
it's terrible.
The only real, I guess, to me, the only real all-star game out there is All-Star Weekend for baseball. That's the only All-Star really because you go look at basketball. They're doing and I like the 3-point contest and the dunk contest. But when it comes to the actual All-Star game itself, there's no defense. Nobody's doing nothing. They're just out there scoring points. And then now we got the flag football with the NFL. I'm just like, come on.
And that you just already pointed it out, Tim, as I just mentioned. There is no value with the actual game itself. Because when you think of the All-Star weekend in the NBA, what's the first competition that comes to mind? The dunk contest.
Yep.
And now the implementing of the three-point contest. Those are the first main things that come to your mind.
Mm-hmm.
With the All-Star game in baseball, what comes to your mind for that weekend?
Home run derby.
The home run derby. You don't even care about the game. Football has yet to place their niche on an activity. Flag football, we know it's not it. There's not that niche to where the football in the NFL can really kind of plant their flag on. It's like, this is going to be the growing popular activity that everybody's going to want to be tuned in to watch. But even those other sports that I mentioned with the dunk contest, that's lost its luster over the years. Why? Because NBA players ain't really participating like that for real. They got to get guys from the G League to participate in the dunk contest. And so it's like, man, don't nobody care about this kind of thing. So it's yes, I understand the popular comments that's made that the Pro Bowl sucks, it's the worst, just get rid of it. But man, pro sports are looking at it. It's like that in pro sports all around.
Yeah. It's just I don't understand the whole softening up the Pro Bowl, because before the Pro Bowl it was all the best players out there. Of course the ones that were not going to the Super Bowl. Yeah. To go out there and perform for the fans and everybody to see just what was going on. Now it's just a flag football tournament, and it's I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm happy for the fans that get to go watch the game. But other than that, I'm not investing any of my time watching. I'm actually going to be watching the Royal Rumble this weekend. And Austin Art said something about it was moved to Tuesday. It looks like the Pro Bowl was moved to.
Oh, really? Oh, then I'm definitely not going to pay attention and watch it. I got work to do. So if that's the case, I don't care. Another thing I forgot to mention, where it also kind of like lost its value, that pivot that they made from the Pro Bowl being a week after the Super Bowl and putting it in the midweek, the week before the Super Bowl. That was a problem. Now I saw the vision. It's like there's too much of a dead period before the AFC NFC championship game and to the Super Bowl. There's that 2 weeks period where you got a dead week in the middle. And so you filled that with the Pro Bowl. Yes, I understand that. Yeah. But that also doesn't really kind of leave much room for improvement, because now you got so many more players bowing out. Before, when it was a week after the Super Bowl, you still had your Super Bowl quarterback that have just played in the Super Bowl. They'll still come out there and just have fun with the guys. Like it's a glorified recess. I remember the 2006 Super Bowl, because I think that was kind of the last week when they did it. Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl, and then the next week he went to the Pro Bowl. And just to be able to sort of kind of close his season in a nutshell. But I think that also too, you're implementing things like the scouting combine with coaches and stuff, and it's getting the off season and the training portion of getting yourself ready for next season. It's really kind of flurried its way to the point where it's like the Pro Bowl can kick rocks. So I think that was also the thinking behind it. But overall, man, that's just the times of where we are, man. It's not going to get any better. I just don't think that people are going to all of a sudden have this heightened sense of kumbaya-ness when it comes to wanting to try to make the Pro Bowl great again. Yeah.
And I want to get into another subject. So since we just talked about the Pro Bowl is coming up. We had the Hall of Fame inductee votes going on. Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch of stuff on the internet talking about Bill Belichick not getting in first ballot and all this other stuff. And, and then I actually had my nephew call me today, actually. He's like, if so, Antonio Brown, is he a Hall of Famer? Is Odell Beckham a Hall of Famer? Got into this discussion, and I had to set him straight, and I had to give him some stats. I was like, it's not what you do just for a season, it's what you do for your entire career for me. Mm-hmm. And being a Pro Bowler is one of those for our players. That is, Pro Bowler, Walter Payton Man of the Year, All Pro, Super Bowls, all kinds of different stuff that's a factor of getting into the Hall of Fame. But Justin, and I don't want to spend too much time on Belichick. What were your thoughts about Belichick not getting into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot?
Yeah, my first initial thought was, has it been 5 years already since he's been retired? Right. That was my first initial thought, because I was like,
that's a good question.
Just retire? And that's what made me think, like, what is the process now, the voting process for when it comes to Bill Belichick? Well, when it comes to coaches when they retire? Like, what is the time parameters that they need to be retired? Because for players, you got to have retired for 5 years to then be eligible for Pro Football Hall of Fame. I didn't know that it was different for head coaches. And if you were a head coach and you retired, I think it's a 2-year wait. I don't know, but it's apparently a shorter wait list for you to become eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But bottom line is, I'm with the majority consensus of opinion that was a travesty. It was disrespectful among Bill Belichick, who is an 8-time Super Bowl champion, 6-time Super Bowl champion as a head coach. And yes, I understand the controversial talking subjects of the Spygate and Deflategate and whatnot. I understand all of those arguments, but at the end of the day, this guy had redefined football from a coaching perspective and literally became the greatest coach of all time. I don't want to hear about his record post Tom Brady. I don't care about his record prior to Tom Brady. I don't care about none of that, because if you talk to Tom Brady, he will tell you he needed Bill Belichick just as much as Belichick needed him. So it was the perfect marriage between the two. But at the end of the day, man, it is a flawed process with the Hall of Fame. It's terrible. And as a Bengals fan, we have been talking about these things for years on end. Hell, we got Bengal Jim, who's a super fan Bengal guy that has championed and created the Jungle to the Hall event to keep on pushing the envelope for making sure that our Bengal greats get recognized so these guys can get put in the Hall of Fame, because they have long deserved for this honorary and this. And now all of a sudden, because you're seeing stuff like this happen to Bill Belichick, where was the outrage and stuff for other people that deserved it? Terrell Owens, he was a guy that had to wait 3 years for no reason when he was clear cut first ballot. There's going to be always these tongue-in-cheek kind of arguments that people are going to have their individual preferences on. And I'll say this last real quick, and I'll be brief. We can move on because we still got some football to talk about. Is that, look, I agree, overall body of work throughout the entirety of your career matters. But the degree of impact is the definite thing that matters, because it can't be what measures you via Super Bowl and playoff wins and just rings. Like, I understand that is the popular culture talking point, but the degree of impact of how a person and a player and a coach have really managed to be able to really highlight that you can't really tell this story without them. That is the thing that really should be the argument for why this such and such person should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I think that's pretty common sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I really wanted to get your opinion, because there were some names that were thrown out to me on his opinion on the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And, and I gave him my stat, because he was trying to make the argument of, OBJ deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer because of his influence and all this. And I told him let me be PG about it, because we are on YouTube. But I told him it does not matter what his influence was, is, or could have been, whatever it is. And influences do not make you win football games. It does not make your team successful, and it does not make you successful just because you're an influencer. Right. So I gave him some stats. I gave him Jerry Rice's 20-year career stats. I gave him OBJ's stats, and I gave him the Jamar Chase stats. And in the end, I asked him the question. And I didn't tell him Jamar Chase's. I didn't tell him the name of the person. And I didn't tell him that if he was still actively in the NFL or not. But I said, I gave him Jamar Chase's stats. And then I gave him Odell Beckham's stats. I said, which one would you put into the Hall of Fame? He goes, oh, well, I put the 6-year guy with the over 6,000 yards, 54 touchdowns in a heartbeat. I said, well, what's funny is this. So you're picking Jamar Chase, an active football player right now, over your Odell Beckham because he's an influencer. He goes, oh man, I didn't think about that. And I'm like, well, you look at it over Odell Beckham's career, which was like 12 years. He only put up like 7,500 receiving yards and only 52 touchdowns. Yeah. How was that Hall of Fame? Like, and that's what I just, whoever's viewing us and watches, I kind of want you to just kind of open up your mind and see, hey, you know what? Just because, your favorite football player is, we'll say Odell Beckham or Jamar Chase or Antonio Brown or, Kenneth Walker or any active player, or soon you're no longer active player, before you go barking off, oh, they should be in the Hall of Fame. They should be in the Hall of Fame. Really look at what they did within their career, what they're doing in their career, Pro Bowls, All Pro, awards and all kinds of stuff, because, you really got to open up your mind instead of saying, what is influencing you. Go ahead, Justin.
Okay, yeah. Again, this is kind of like what I was trying to say exactly. And KC from KP, man, what up, bro? Appreciate you for joining in the chat today, my guy. I'll take it one step further. It's exactly what I said. The degree and impact value of what that player meant. The stars aligned for OBJ when he first came in the league. He's in a big, flashy market in New York City. He made the highlight reel one-handed, backhanded catch. But what if that was incomplete? First of all, what was that? What if that was incomplete? Would OBJ still be OBJ, even with all of the other one-handed catches that he will go on to making as the rest of the seasons go on or whatnot that he's been known for? But he became known off of that one play that he made. You can also argue, and this is me just kind of throwing this out there, even though this is an argument that you can legitimately make of why he needs to wait a little bit. He's not a first ballot, at least to my attention. Would he have the same degree of impact and impact value if he was on the Detroit Lions? Megatron made first ballot Hall of Fame. He also retired early. But Megatron was that guy, Calvin Johnson, for those who don't know who Megatron is, sadly. If you took Calvin Johnson and literally put him anywhere, he's going to produce because he is that guy. Can you make the same argument about OBJ? And if your answer is yes, then you're a biased OBJ fan.
Yep.
That's what I mean by impact value. It's the same argument. That's why Randy Moss is a Hall of Famer. It's why Terrell Owens is a Hall of Famer. Chris Carter is a Hall of Famer, even though Chris Carter and T.O. had to wait on just for no reason. But those guys changed the dynamic of the game in such a elevating, impactful way that now you started to have to think about receivers coming in the game in the future, trying to emulate what they've already done. Now, OBJ, the circus one-handed catch is basically what you're known for. Let's be honest, guys. He didn't create that. He was just known for that because he did it at the perfect time, the perfect market, Sunday Night Football. Might I add you, that's where all the eyeballs are watching. If that was a 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon game, do you think anybody would care? Probably not. With the F broadcasting crew, probably not. But because it was the Giants versus the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, Chris Collinsworth, Al Michaels calling the game, that moment, it pretty much just catapulted OBJ into superstardom. So, yes, sometimes it happens for a person. Now, this is not me saying that OBJ should not go into the Hall of Fame. I think he should be at some point in this tournament, but not first ballot. Right. There's a certain type of level of credentials. There's a type of level of aura that you have to embrace for a person to be able to be considered first ballot. That's why it's such a travesty that Bill Belichick is in the space that he's in, because he truly redefined the game from a coach's perspective. And no matter what you think about him, of what he's doing off the field and your feelings, these voters absolutely got it wrong with that one.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, guys, thank you guys again so much for watching and listening. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you share with your friends. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Austin Art, we appreciate you. KP from KC and whoever else is watching, say hello, whatever. But let's get into our AFC and NFC championship recap real quick. We're going to do a quick recap. The first game, we had the Patriots versus the Broncos. Man, that game was such a snooze fest. I closed my eyes for like maybe 10 minutes, and I woke up and it was still 7-7. And that was at halftime. I was like, what the hell's going on here? It was just an awful, awful game. Like, I don't even, can I say that it was good defense? Can I say it was good offense? I don't know what I can say because, what did we expect was going to happen when backup quarterback for the Broncos, and I'm missing on his name right this second. I don't know why.
Jarrett Stidham.
Did we expect him to come out there and lights out, be Nick Foles and light up the Patriots defense? And no, it looked like it at first. I was like, oh, never mind. I'm going to go back to sleep. Justin, what was your thought on this 10-7 win over the Broncos?
And quite frankly, I just wasn't impressed by either team. The Broncos did actually have a chance to win this game. It was one of those games to where you probably felt that if the Broncos just do not mess it up, they can walk out of here with an upset victory.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, everybody's going to talk about Sean Payton's controversial call of 4th and 4. You're right there. You should have just went and took the points. But hindsight's 2020, because at the end of the day, I just kind of put it up to this argument. I think that what we're witnessing from the Patriots defense from this entire playoff run is probably borderline one of the best playoff runs for a defensive team that you've seen in recent years. Now, a lot of that has so much to do with the opponents that they've been facing, 100%. But let's just kind of look at it from a perspective and the lens of the playoff matchups. So round 1, they went against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Well, there were people that picked the Chargers to beat this Patriots team. I didn't, but I was the one that understood like why people did. They gave him hell. And the amount of pass rush that they got on, they teed off on them. Now, people also can say, well, the Chargers O-line was busted up and whatnot. Okay, whatever. At the end of the day, the Patriots still made the plays on that side of the ball. Drake May really didn't do a damn thing for all 3 playoff games. He's been terrible. But that's not saying that he's a terrible quarterback. It's just that he ain't had to really do much in the playoffs. In round 2, they went against who? The Houston Texans, and they just made C.J. Stroud look like that he should have been on the bench all season long.
Yeah.
And now in round 3, the Broncos, they had called a huge break with no Bo Nix. I truly believe if Bo Nix played that the Broncos would have pulled off this win. But maybe that Mike Vrabel would have had his defense ready to see Bo Nix differently, that they would have been ready for those swing out route, swing duck-off runs that Bo Nix likes to do like he did in the divisional round against the Bills. Maybe they probably would have been ready for that. I tell you, that defense of the Patriots were playing really fast. Yeah. And they knocked Jarrett Stidham off his spot quite a bit. He's not really a mobile guy. He's a pocket guy. And you saw when he tried to get mobile, he was slow. And he just doesn't have the arm strength that Bo Nix has. So, yeah, and then at the end of the day, Jarrett Stidham just kind of threw the game away. It's like he just basically just gave that deep ball that he threw that got intercepted by Christian Gonzalez. I was like, dude, what the hell kind of throw was that? Like, I didn't think that Christian Gonzalez made an incredible play. I just thought that, well, he was just gifted a golden opportunity because Jarrett Stidham just doesn't have the arm strength capacity to throw into that wind, to cut a ball deep into that wind, to be able to get it to his guy. And then, well, Christian Gonzalez, he was right there. And I do like Christian Gonzalez as a corner, by the way.
He's a hell of a corner.
Yeah, he's definitely one of them elite corners in the league that you need to start talking about at this point. But yeah, the Patriots, tip my cap to you. This game sucked ass, but at the end of the day, man, look, the defense of the Patriots, they rose to the occasion. They went on the road and they got themselves a win, and here they are in the Super Bowl. For the Broncos, look, you kind of overachieved. You were very fortunate that you didn't have to see Kansas City at any point during the playoffs, because at some point, there's an argument there that if Kansas City would have made the playoffs, well, they probably would have been on another run. But at the end of the day, nobody else made it. The matchups were how they matched up into, and you still went out and you still played ball. You overachieved expectations. You beat the best quarterback in the playoffs remaining, and that was Josh Allen. So with that being said, Broncos fans, you don't need to you don't need to hold your head down. Keep your head up. You'll be fine. You got a bright future moving forward. You kind of overexceeded expectations, a lot like the Patriots are overexceeding expectations right now. So that's kind of my overall thought on this game. It was terrible, but it's two teams to where, hey, look, great job on the season thus far.
Yeah. All right. Next one. The Seahawks versus the Rams. Seahawks handled some business here in Seattle, 31-27. I called this game. Everybody that I spoke to, so mother-in-law, she was worried about the game, and I was like, you guys have been playing great ball. You continuously playing great ball. You handled the 49ers fairly well. The last game you guys played against the Rams, it was came down to a play to win the game. I said, but your guys' defense is playing at a different level. And, she was like, man, I hope you're right. I know what Matt Stafford can do and the rest of the offense. And I tip my cap to Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is MVP. I don't care what anybody says. He's MVP. Puka Nacua is special. He's a special, special guy. And I really hope to see Devontae Adams at least one more season. I really do. I like Devontae. He's been a great player through his entire career, and I hope we see at least one more year from Devontae Adams and Matt Stafford, to be honest with you. But the Seahawks had their number on that Sunday game. They had their number. It was just everything was looking good. Sam Darnold was playing some football, man. He was out there throwing dots. JSN was playing great. That defense was playing great. And I ended up last week 2-2 or 2-0. Excuse me, 2-0. And I know Justin would have ended up 2-0 also, but I think he just wanted to be different with this game, and he picked the Rams instead of the Seahawks. He just wanted to be different. But I know his heart was still going, I think the Seahawks win this game, and they won this game. I was being, living here and my mother-in-law being a big Seahawks fan. It was great to see her happy and giddy, and we did it. We're going to the Super Bowl again. So, but Justin, what was your thoughts about this game?
I thought the Rams were going to win. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I picked them to win because I thought that Matt Stafford and that Rams office had what it takes to go on the road at Seattle and win. But I also did state that how can you not like Seattle too? That team is a complete team. And yes, we got to stop disrespecting Sam Darnold. And I'm looking in the mirror telling myself this because I'm always timid when it comes to a high profile matchup in this caliber that the Sam Darnold that I'm seeing ghost again is going to show up. But man, he has had a great redemption arc to his career, a great second act to the point to where it's like, especially if he wins the Super Bowl, which I think that you and I can early project that they might be doing. You can probably write him down as the greatest second act of all time because this dude was labeled a bust. He was written off by 3 different teams prior to going to Seattle. Nobody wanted to commit to him long term. And even in Minnesota last year, when he led that team to a 14-3 record, I just felt like that there was people have always felt like there was always going to be a ceiling there that this is could be like a one-hit wonder. He just has a good team around him, man. JSN, yes, the guy that they took from the Rams, Cooper Kupp. Those guys, man, they made plays. But I also think that they were epitome of the Rams basically not getting the lucky break that they should have. And that on that 3rd and 1 drop, they pick up that 1 yard. Oh my goodness. And then it was tipped at the very last second and it led to their tight end, Tyler Higbee. I think he was the one that dropped it. Man, that was just deflating because you just know that was probably the game. And they were facing the 4th down too. And then they went for it and then they didn't get it. And you could have made the argument that they probably could have went for the points there too. And it would have been 31-30. But I think that they were looking at it as, look, we better be aggressive here because let's at least try to take the lead. Because even if the Seahawks do run down and try to milk the clock and get a touchdown, we at least have the opportunity to get the ball back last. But you never saw the ball back again until it was like 30 seconds left. And you got tackled in bounds and there was the clock. And so it was a great game, a phenomenal game. And both quarterbacks, Matt Stafford and Sam Darnold, they put on the show. Puka Nacua put on the show. JSN makes some terrific catches. The one-handed catch on the sideline was just absolutely a barn burner. The defenses of both teams, especially the Seahawks defense, they just play quick. They just play fast. This Seahawks team is just absolutely insane. They are loaded from top to bottom. And they're, like I said, they're a complete team. But I wasn't swooned away by my pick. I felt like the Rams had what it takes. They were the one team I felt like that could have the potential to walk in the Seahawks stadium and the 12th man and pretty much win the game. Yeah. And they almost did. And they could have, But at the end of the day, the game was played the way it was played. And I'm not in this space no more to where we're going to be talking about, oh, well, the refs did. Look, bro. The refs is going to ref no matter how it is. We could talk about controversial calls all we want to, but I didn't feel like that it was deep and impactful enough in my eyes that will warrant you to be like, well, if this should have went this way, then they probably would. Look, the muff punt, because I know that one thing they're going to say like, oh, well, the Seahawks do whatever, dude, that was a flag, whatever. But the muff punt that the Rams had and that gave the Seahawks the touchdown, the Rams got a break too because of the DPI for what's his name, Tariq Woolen.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he had just a bad sequence of events that allowed the Rams to get a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So you both had breaks on each side, so it kind of balances itself out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the better team won, and the better team was the Seahawks. Look, this was a tough game to pick, and I really picked this game with my mind and with my feelings as well too. Even though I felt like that, yeah, I could make an argument for either team here. But, man, I'm just tipping my cap to Seattle, man, because Mike McDonald, job well done, bro. Like, job well done from a coach's perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a great game. Both, like just like you said, both of them had the opportunities to either capitalize the game or throw it away. They both really did, and the better team did step up, and now they're going to the Super Bowl. Now, speaking of the Super Bowl, and I'm not going to take a commercial break because our shows aren't ending up on podcast land anyways, but you guys can subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you guys again so much for being here. But we're going to get into an episode here, and it might be a little bit long-winded before we actually talk about the Super Bowl, because we might actually end up doing a Super Bowl show next week as well, an actual Super Bowl show next week. But it all depends on how Justin and I are feeling. It's fun. It's football. And it's Super Bowl weekend next weekend, so you'll probably see us next Friday doing our full Super Bowl thing. But so what I want to get into is this. So we all have our favorite teams. We've seen our teams go to the Super Bowl and lose. We've seen our teams go to the Super Bowl and win. But this episode is our favorite Super Bowls, or Super Bowls, Super Bowl, whatever you want to call it. And I know Justin's probably has, I think he has like five that he's going to go over with you guys. And this guy, I'm going to tell you this right now, he might have 5 that he's going with, but he's very brilliantly smart. He has his history. He knows his knowledge. Me, I have some games that I can, I grew up watching the Cincinnati Bengals growing up, even though the Cincinnati Bengals lost this game against the 49ers, but to watch Joe Montana and that 49ers team come back and win that game, as a kid, it was amazing to watch Joe Montana. And, it was the game. It was Super Bowl, oh my gosh, 1986, I believe it was. 84, 86, I can't remember which one it was.
Which
it was the one that
was it the second one or the first one?
It was the second one when Tim Crumright broke his leg.
Okay, 88, 89 season. Yeah.
89, yeah. I'm sorry.
I wonder if that was Super Bowl 23. I think it was 23.
Yeah, something like that. But it was a great game. I remember being a kid. I had a T-shirt that had, Super Bowl or AFC North or AFC Championships, and had the whole roster on the back of it, and and I think it's still at my mom's house. Believe it or not, it's about yay big now. My big ass wouldn't fit in, but that was one of my favorite memories as a kid. Even though my Bengals team lost, but to see Joe Montana, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, just to lead a charge and come back and win a football game. But we also got to see players like Jerry Rice, Roger Craig, Ronnie Lott, Ickey Woods, Boomer Esiason. We can go on and on and on and on. But really my favorite, and this is going to be, and you're going to be like, Tim, why is this your favorite game, your favorite Super Bowl yet as of now? Well, I have a memory. My mother-in-law, as you guys know, she's a big Seahawks fan. She really is. She's a huge, this woman loves football. She loves sports. My wife does not care about football, but she supports everything that I do, of course, when it comes to the podcast and my football stuff, whatever. But I remember watching this February 2nd, 2014. It was Super Bowl 48. It was when the Seahawks were playing against the number one offense in all of the NFL, led by Peyton Manning in that offense. That offense was historically like the best offense that anybody would ever that anybody has seen, really.
Yeah, right.
And I remember sitting down watching that game with my mother-in-law, and she was nervous because the Seahawks were going in there with a sophomore Russell Wilson. It was really something that she hasn't seen in a very long time, and she was excited about it. And I remember the very first play of the game. There was a hike to Peyton Manning right into the end zone, 2-point safety. It was a safety. They went up 2-0. The next they got the ball. It was at 5-0. Then it came up to be 8-0. Peyton Manning threw 2 interceptions. One of them was a pick 6. That defense, the Seattle defense, was just dominating the best offense in the NFL, which is dominating them.
Yep.
Just straight domination. And, they had one of my favorite players, Marshawn Lynch, because I love running the damn ball. And Marshawn Lynch is the definition. When you see run the damn ball, you see beast mode with Marshawn Lynch's face in the dictionary. That's running the damn ball. But Marshawn only had I think he had 1 touchdown and 48 yards rushing, 52 yards rushing, whatever it was. It wasn't very much. But that defense just dominated them. And, to see them just beating the hell out of the Broncos, it was amazing. And then the second half kicked off. What happened the second half? What happened? Percy Harvin kick off for a touchdown. I was like, oh, we were going crazy. I was like, no way this is happening, Just the absolute ass whooping the Seahawks had. And then Malcolm Smith was the MVP. He had that pick 6. He had a fumble recovery, and he had 9 tackles. To watch a damn defense dominate the best offense in the game that day, it was just unbelievable. And I could, that was one of my favorite Super Bowl moments. I could have mentioned the 28-3 comeback for the Patriots versus the Atlanta Falcons. I could have named the Patriots versus the Seahawks for the pick, on the 2-yard line when you have the best running back in the game, Marshawn Lynch. You could just run the damn ball and get a touchdown, but no, they decided to throw the ball and throw a pick instead, and the Patriots win that game. There's many other ones. But Justin, this is your time to shine. What are your favorite Super Bowl moments? Just Super Bowl in general for you.
Well, I wish you would never have mentioned Malcolm Smith winning MVP, because that was going to be a trivia question I was going to ask the chat. Who was the MVP? Do you remember of that? Because I bet you nobody would have remembered. But yes, Malcolm Smith was the one that won MVP. And I was thinking who? Because the Seahawks defense made so many plays that day to the point where it's like, dog, you could have just did a little freaking damn spin the wheel on Price is Right, and it just lands on somebody's name, and here's the award. But you knew that was going to collectively the whole entire defense. And so, yeah, I remember watching that because I'm a huge Peyton Manning fan. And growing up, I was just watching, rooting for that offense, because I was thinking to myself, because Peyton Manning, he missed the entire 2011 season. For those that recall the 2011 season, that was the year where you saw 4 different quarterbacks throw for over 5,000 yards. Drew Brees breaking ultimately Dan Marino's passing yardage record. And Peyton Manning didn't even play in that year. He was out with the neck injury. But I've always said, if Peyton Manning was playing, he would have been one of those 4. He probably would have broke that record. And then 2 years later, in 2013, Peyton Manning did exactly that and basically broke every other quarterback record, passing record you think of. He broke Tom Brady's passing touchdowns record. Previously was 50. Peyton Manning had 55. 5,400 something yards in passing yards. So I was definitely on the bandwagon rooting for the Denver Broncos in that Super Bowl. But so when my memory of that game, it was just off of pure disappointment. I was like, I can't believe the Broncos look like that. But also simultaneously, I said, damn, bro, that Seahawks defense, I did not know they were that good. And they became the Legion of Boom at that moment, because boom, they shot down the whole entire offense of the Broncos to the point where it's like, dude, only thing that I believe they only had was 8 points in that game. It was insane.
43-8.
It's insane. All right, for my list. Okay. Before I go into my top 5, I am going to do a mention of one of my favorite Bengals Super Bowl games, and obviously 2021 reigns supreme of all for many modern day Bengals fans. But I know a lot of Bengals fans are really butthurt that we didn't win that game. For me, I was just happy to be there, and we almost could have won that game. But when you think about the hierarchy of the trajectory of other Super Bowls that I've witnessed in real time, and the emotions and the felt, and then I took my actual fan base, fans perspective out of it, and I rooted for just great games. Sorry, but Bengals Rams are not on that list, and they won't be on that list. Now, if Joe Burrow would have completed that comeback and had that extra half-second step he would have launched that ball to Jamar Chase, who was wide open, and he stated many times that he was going for him on that moment on that fourth down, and the Bengals scored a touchdown and they held on to that lead and won the game, then that would have absolutely made my list. Number one, because my favorite team won the Super Bowl. But number two, it would have been Joe Burrow's first Super Bowl in the shining moment to where he put the team on his back when it mattered the most. But it's not going to make my list. But I do want to make mention of that because a lot of Bengals fans, they still don't have closure with that. Me, just get over it. All right. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll start off by number 5. And Tim, I hated that you spoiled part of my list here because you was bringing up other ones and stuff. Damn, dog. Because number 5 on my list is the Seahawks versus the Patriots, by the way. Mm-hmm. That game was insane to me. And contrary to what happened the year prior against the Broncos, number 1 rated offense, against Peyton Manning, because you already know Peyton Manning's immediate peer rival was Tom Brady. The following year, Tom Brady saw that exact same defense. If not, you might think that they were even better. The Seahawks were honestly the favorite this time to win that game. They had just came off the Super Bowl the year prior. They were ready to go back-to-back. They were starting to usher in themselves as the new dynasty. Everybody remembers that game, obviously, with the Malcolm Butler interception. And then they talking about this controversial, you should have gave the ball to Marshawn Lynch. Me, I argued with, I kind of understood why they threw it. I just think that you just got to tip your cap to Malcolm Butler on the pick because that is not an easy play to make for a DB. You could have been this close and it would have been a touchdown. That close. You were just a slim hair chance of just that ball being completed and not intercepted, or at least just incomplete. And the Seahawks would have probably gave it to Marshawn Lynch on the best play. But I think they just try to outsmart the Patriots, knowing that they probably thought that they were going to go for the run because they had a goal line defense that was trying to stop Marshawn in that spot. And then they didn't have that much time. I think it only like 20-something seconds left on the clock. But I also notated on here the catch made by Jermaine Kearse on that ensuing Seahawks drive. It was an crazy, incredible catch that bounced around and just landed on his lap, and he caught it. That got him into the red zone. And then Patriots fans, I already saw it on their faces, even though I wasn't like with Patriots fans when that game happened. But I already felt what Patriots fans were probably thinking. Oh, shit, not again. David Tyree helmet catch. The Mario Manningham catch in Super Bowl 45 a few years afterwards. And now you got this one. Because before, people don't remember. Because when they think of Brady and Belichick, they think of all these Super Bowls. They think that they just won every Super Bowl. But the Patriots had gone a straight, like a 10-year decade stretch where they had not won the Super Bowl. And then they made the Super Bowl 2 other times. And they lost to the Giants. And this was the 3rd time they made it back to the Super Bowl after the two previous losses. And when that catch happened by Jermaine Kearse, they were thinking, we're going to lose the game again at the last second. But Malcolm Butler rescued them in that situation with that pick. And I was just like, dude, I was just like in the big, this was the greatest moment of all time. Tom Brady obviously wins the Super Bowl MVP, and rightfully so. He was the one that carried the team and scored 4 touchdown passes, whatever. But dude, that game was just awesome. It was back and forth. The Seahawks took the lead at half. Russell Wilson was cooking. And I understood why the decision to pass the ball, even though I know consistency of opinion makes you think that they should have handed the ball to Marshawn. But that's number 5 for me. Now, number 4. I told you guys I was a Peyton Manning fan just a moment ago. So that 2013 Super Bowl did suck watching that in real time. But Super Bowl 41, Peyton Manning's first Super Bowl victory, that was one of my favorite moments of watching the bowl because I just remember that whole season. Yes, that 2006 AFC Championship game, it's Manning, it's Brady, it's in Indianapolis this time. And you thought that it was going to be another one of those situations where Manning was going to get sent home by Brady and the Patriots again. They just got his number when it comes to the playoffs. But they came back and won that game in a pure historic fashion. But in the Super Bowl, they were also down in that game too. People do not remember that. They were down 14-0. And then Reggie Wayne and that big touchdown catch happened. It was in the pouring rain in Miami, in South Beach. And people were always throwing all the shades out there like, man, the Colts run defense, they're not going to be able to stop the Bears. They don't play good. They're a finesse offense. They don't play great in inclement weather like that. Dude, they cooked. And the defense of the Colts really shut up a lot of naysayers because that was one of the years where everybody was so center focused on the Colts' run defense that season and how they were ranked the bottom of the league, dead last. And Peyton Manning carried that defense into the Super Bowl and won it. So that's number 4 for me of one of my favorite immediate memories of Super Bowls that I've watched. All right. Number 3. Now I'm got to go back and I got to turn the clock back now at this point. I got to go back to 1997, 1998. The Denver Broncos versus the Green Bay Packers. John Elway makes it back to the Super Bowl. The Green Bay Packers were going for their second straight Super Bowl win to be in back-to-back champs. Now, when people think of John Elway's back-end career with the 2 Super Bowl wins in 97 and 98, they think of like, oh yeah, man, they were always a dominant force and whatnot. No. Okay. John Elway was really playing second fiddle to Terrell Davis. And the year prior to the 97 season, they had the number 1 seed, but they got upset by Jacksonville in the playoffs. And people don't remember this, but in 1997, even though John Elway was the best quarterback in the AFC, and many people in their eyes project him still the best quarterback in the NFL, but he was still outshadowed by Brett Favre, who won the MVP and won the Super Bowl the year prior too. They thought that John Elway, people think that John Elway and the Broncos, they won the division that year. They did not. It was the Kansas City Chiefs led by Elvis Gerbach. Tells you
my gosh.
Elvis Gerbach and Marty Schottenheimer won that division. And the Broncos were really the first OG team that had to go on the road twice in 2 different instances against teams that they lost to in the regular season and go back into their house and beat them. They had to go on the road and beat the Chiefs in the divisional round. The wild card game, they had to dominate Jacksonville, who put them out the year prior. And then in the championship game, they had to go at Pittsburgh and beat that steel curtain defense 2.0. It felt like Bill Cowher's defense. Then to get them in the Super Bowl where they were 14-point underdogs, man. But that was Terrell Davis's show. The way how and I remember watching the game and thought, man, how gifted of a running back that Terrell Davis was. And yes, people are going to remember like the drive and then the third down jump, that helicopter spin jump that John Elway did. That's always the historic moment that people remember John Elway for. But I just think of Terrell Davis, man, and how much he just dominated that Packers defense. And that Packers team was really good. Everybody thought that they were going to be the team to win that game. So that's going to be number 3 for me. Tim, before I continue, do you have any comments so far before I get to my top 2?
No, bro. Keep cooking. Number two.
You know what? I do want to kind of point out the chat a little bit, see if there's anything that they have. All right. Austin's already talking about 2015, 2017, 2019, and 2021. Okay. He said he was a big Tom Brady's fan. Awesome victories in those games. Let's see. Yeah, he said, did Percy Harvin return from KC, from KP? Talking about your Super Bowl game. And yeah, we mentioned that. That was the start of the second half of that game. Yeah, man. So yeah, I do like this kind of conversation and discussion because I've always really appreciated these kind of things. And we're in Super Bowl season now. So all right.
And that was the whole purpose of us doing this episode, this segment of this episode, because I know we're coming up to the Super Bowl, but do we really want to get into the Super Bowl today? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I know, right? Because I feel like we got our early indications of what's going on or what's going to potentially happen. But at the end of the day, man, we got to save that content for another day sometime for a good portion of it. You know what I mean?
Yep. All right. So team number 2 or Super Bowl number 2.
What
you got, Justin?
Man, I could have really put this between my top 5, but I just went with my immediate feeling when I thought of my number 1 team. But number 2, it was pretty much no different. Patriots Falcons, bro. You mentioned it earlier, 28-3. Yep. That was the greatest comeback I've ever seen in the Super Bowl.
It was amazing. Like, it was unbelievable.
Fantastic.
I couldn't believe it was happening in front of millions of people's eyes.
Now, one of the touchdowns that was while Brady and the Patriots that they did, and they had to go for 2, and they did a direct snap to the running back, James White, I believe, and they ended up getting a 2-point conversion. I remember calling that play before it happened, because I remembered saying this to one of my homies. I said, this is going to be a direct snap to the running back. He said, there ain't no running back getting behind Brady. He said, he's motioning him out wide first to see what type of coverage did they get, just get the look. He's going to motion him back in, and then that's when the direct snap was happening. Boy, oh boy, did that happen. And he said, how did you know that play was going to happen? Now, that's going to make it seem like that I am kind of like fool's gold, but here was the kicker. They did that exact same play in the 2003 Super Bowl 15 years ago prior to that. So in 2003, when they played the Carolina Panthers in that Super Bowl, Jake Delhomme and the Panthers, Brady and the Patriots, they did that exact same thing. Direct snap to Kevin Falk in the touchdown for a 2-point try. So in Belichick and Brady, it's deep in the playbook again. And they are already through an outlet pass to Julian Edelman to go for another one. But they had to go for 2 different touchdowns and convert on 2 different 2-point conversions. And just to be able to get to a point where they can tie the game. Yeah. I just couldn't believe that they did it. I was starting to do the math in my head. And damn it, Brady was probably like, he was doing that exact same, calculating the exact same thing in his head too of what he needed to do. And the Falcons, missed opportunity for them. And I know that the heartbreak is just dominating. And that's another lesson to Bengals fans, by the way. Yes, I understand you're petty about the Logan Wilson Hulk. Stop, okay? Because while I'm not saying that you don't need to feel the way you feel, Bengals fans, but at least you ain't the 28-3 you giving up the lead Falcons, because they haven't been relevant since. They have not done anything since. And it tells you how much your image can change with a massive loss like that. So yeah, that's number 2 for me, man. And I'm not really the big Patriots fan because like it is what it is, but I think that game right there, and that was Brady's 5th ring. Brady and Belichick number 5 together. But that game for me symbolized Tom Brady as the GOAT. And I know that he would go in and get his 6th the following year, and then he would go in and get, or 2 years later, I should say, and then go in and get 7 in Tampa. But number 5, when he pulled off that comeback, that was the greatest I've ever seen. Joe Montana didn't even do that, okay? Now, he did do that in Super Bowl 23 with the comeback win against the Bengals in that Super Bowl, like that you had mentioning when you were a kid watching that. Right. That was great and all, but 28-3, deep in the third quarter, like, dude, nobody thought that was going to happen. All right, number 1. It's the Giants beating the 16-0 undefeated Patriots, bro.
Oh, damn.
How can you not go with it? I just remember all of America was rooting for a 16-0 Patriots team to go under to finally pop the champagne, dethrone the 72 Dolphins. But I also remember a large degree of people that wanted to see him fall. And that game really showed me that the public really does have an appetite for these rise and fall narratives. It was Spygate before, but nobody was paying attention to Spygate the moment that the game started being played, and they were winning and they were killing it. And the Patriots, they were like a machine. They were dominating every opponent in their way. I remember that same Patriots team that Randy Moss, Wes Welker led Patriots squad, they came into our house that Monday Night Football, and they just took us to the woodshed. And they did that to literally everybody. And then the Giants, Eli Manning is going to get into the Hall of Fame because of this game. The Super Bowl 42. You know what? Because I told you I mentioned you before. I wish you never brought up Malcolm Smith's name because he was the one that won Super Bowl MVP. Right. Everybody's memory of Super Bowl 42 was the David Tyree helmet catch. But that was not the game winner. That was the game iconic moment. But there was somebody else that actually caught the game-winning touchdown pass. Tim, do you know who that was? I didn't even have to Google this because I just always knew it. But it's very surprising that I feel like that people just did not know this.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. I'm trying to think back then. New York Giants. Man, I can't remember.
Plexico Burress.
Oh shit! No shit! Wow.
Yep. Plexico Burress. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a couple of plays later after the David Tyree helmet catch. Eli Manning lost a fade throw in the corner left side of the end zone over Ellis Hobbs, who was the cornerback that was playing defense coverage on Plexico, and Plexico just beats him on a corner route, corner fade, and then just catches the touchdown pass. And I was like, Giants going to win this, even though there was like 30 seconds left in the game. Yeah. I get it. And there's Tom Brady on the side, but I was like, nah, that pass rush of the Giants, Michael Strahan, dude, you could have made the argument that he should have been an MVP that day. But that was my favorite Super Bowl of all time. I just truly remembered that being the successful hate watch of my life. Like, because it was towards the air. Now, I respected Brady as the years go on and the Patriots as the years went on and whatnot. But I just remember not liking the Patriots and just hating them. And in that time, it was during the points where it's like, man, I'm sick of how they always got like things just handed to them. Like they were cheaters, and I was pointing that out and stuff like that too. I just didn't like the privilege aspect that the Patriots had walked around with. But really over the years, I just respected that, dude. They just got championship DNA. And that's not built equally across the league. You got to earn that. But at the time, I just wanted them to lose. And they kept winning. And I was like, can they please just lose? And then when they finally lost, man, I was as happy as happy as all get out. But you know what, though, man? I'll close it out on this one. Looking back now, I kind of wish the Patriots would have pulled off the 16-0 complete season, the perfect season.
Just so we can say we've seen it.
I would have been able to say I've witnessed a perfect season. And so, but you know what? That stuff happens, every 35 years it seemed like. But at the end of the day, man, that rounds out my top 5 list. Man, that was a fun exercise. Yeah,
it's for me, like those Patriots days, I hated the Patriots, hated Tom Brady, but as of now, being an overall football fan, Tom Brady was a great quarterback. He really was.
Hall of Fame, legendary.
But we also got to look at it this way: it's not just the quarterback that's winning Super Bowls; it's also the defense and everybody else. But Tom Brady really, really highlighted that he is the GOAT. Right. I said it live. I don't like saying Tom Brady's the GOAT, but I'll say it. He's the GOAT. He is the GOAT. It's all there is to it. But anyways,
I think that's it.
I think that's all we're here for, because I don't think we have very much time. But you know what? Hold on a second. I have one more quick thing. We're gonna do a quick, like lightning fast look at this game, and then if you want to know what our picks are, you want to know what our opinions are of this game, you got to come back next week, because we're not going to go fully into it. We only have 2.5 minutes left, so but let's kind of look at a preview of the game. It's not going to be our total preview. So you got the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. They're going into Santa Clara, California at Levi Stadium, February 8th. The 6:30 game, Super Bowl Sunday on NBC. The over and under is, as of right now, is 45.5, and the Seahawks are 4.5-point favorite. Justin, you got anything you want to, lightning fast? Like, what are you looking for, or anything like you don't want to give away everything for next week's show? Yeah. But you got something to say real quick?
Yeah, just for the Seahawks, I'll just look at it this way. Can they complete the redemption arc for the second act for Sam Darnold? And they have done a lot of great things all season long. They were really flying under the radar. Nobody really thought that they were going to be the serious best team in the NFL until it got to a point where just all these other teams started falling off, and then they were the last man standing. They earned that number 1 seed, and quite frankly, you got to tip your cap to them for getting to this far. And so Mike McDonald, one hell of a job coaching. These two teams are led with 2 great coaches that really should be honorably sharing the co-favorite award of Coach of the Year. And then going into Mike Vrabel. I really like what Mike Vrabel has done from a coach's perspective, and I think that he probably might actually be the one to win the award because of the talent around him. From a year-to-year basis, last year, Gerard Mayo, that team stunk. They had really no talent. And then, an offseason of just making moves, and you got a quarterback on a rookie deal with Drake May. Even though Drake May played last year and you saw some glimpses of hope from him, year 2 Drake May was better, obviously, and he's played really damn good. And obviously, I've already made mention quite a bit about their road to get here was pretty favorable for them. But at the end of the day, man, their defense has been really the thing that's been flying under the radar that's not being recognized really enough, because everybody's pointing at the road that the offense had to go through. Drake May, he had to go through top 3 defenses, the Texans, the Chargers defense, and now the Broncos defense. Well, guys, the Patriots have a really good defense too. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys, we can't just look at stack rankings from the totality of the whole entire season. Look at the performance that this defense has made throughout the playoffs. And again, I get it. Opponents matter, but they're really on par. Like if we're looking at points and stack ranks and stuff like that, they're probably comparable to the 2000 Ravens defense during that time from that playoff run. But I'm not ready to go that far with this defense. At the end of the day, they are a really good defense. Two damn good defensive teams. They're both smart. I said fart. Sorry. They're both very smart. Very smart and fundamentally sound on offense. Mike Vrabel, he added a mental edge to this Patriots squad to the point that they feel like that even though they're going into this game with underdogs, they're going to play like that they're the big dogs. And you know what? Let's see what happens next Sunday.
Yeah, we know we have the two best teams in the NFL going head to head. You know, they're going out there like gladiators. Only the best man wins, and in this case, only the best team wins. You know, my cap off to the Seahawks, my cap off to Mike Vrabel and the Patriots. It's amazing what he did with that team and just flipped them around. And then, you know, you got Mike McDonald who is just, man, he is everything. You know, he comes from that hardball tree. You know, it's where he comes from, you know, and he really turned this Seahawks team around. You know, it's funny is when the very first snap that he had a chance to go for it on fourth and it was like fourth and short, and he wouldn't make that decision. It was like, no, I'm not, you know, I'm just going to, you know, punt the ball and, you know, let my defense handle it. Now it's a different call. You will definitely see Kubiak and those guys calling, you know, go for it on fourth down. It's a totally different team. And it's great to see that, you know, both of these teams have the two best teams in the NFL. I think it's gonna be a great game. I hope it's not a, you know, one team comes in and gets their ass kicked. I hope it's an actual, you know, back and forth slobber knocker. You know, if you guys are looking at my screen, both teams have great defenses. Both teams have pretty good damn offenses. You know, but I think the Seahawks have faced the tougher teams than what the Patriots have faced. Their schedule was dealt to them. I'm not gonna downgrade. They played great football all year long. They stepped up when they needed to step up, and here they are. They're getting ready to play the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Awesome. But anyways, that is all that we have. But thank you guys so much for watching, for listening. I saw Afton join the chat. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Austin, Art, KP from KC, and whoever else comes back and watches this show. We appreciate you. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you share with your friends, and you come back next Friday for our Super Bowl actual full preview and who we're going to pick to win the Super Bowl. But if you've been watching our show, you kind of already know who we're picking. But some people could change their minds. And to be honest with you guys, Justin and I, we had a great season with this NFL Pick 'em Show. I've had a blast. Thank you again, Justin, for always, you know, for coming on, spitting your knowledge, your Rolodex. Justin has like a little football in his head, and it's a Rolodex, and he just sorts through that son of a bitch, and he spews out these facts where I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. But thank you, as always, brother. I appreciate you being here.
Of course.
And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. You guys take care. Hoo day.